What's happening? Mediocre people of YouTube. Everything is not what it appears to be. And this ties in with the video I made, my last video. And the older generation will probably have a better understanding of that than the younger generation. Or maybe it's perhaps exactly the opposite at this point. I don't really know, but in talking about YouTube and getting subscribers and views and all of that stuff, you know, we're talking about, you know, basically what I was talking about, what the guitologist is talking about, is this organic growth, you know. And I know he also has, you know, quite a bit of sponsored content as well, but that sponsored content is nowhere near what a lot of the very large YouTube channels receive. Okay, there's not many, and this is not just YouTube, this goes for everything. It all comes down to the dollar in the end. There are not many massive YouTube channels that have been grown organically, not as of lately. Now there's definitely some from the very beginning that grew organically. What is this guy doing? You know, just go ahead, fucking stop, take a look at your phone, no big deal. Why don't you fucking cruise the internet? Check out Facebook while you're here. It's illegal to text message in the state of Michigan. It's illegal to use your phone without hands-free stuff in the state of Michigan. You can, I don't want to get into that. So there's a few channels from the very beginning that are massive channels. You know, they have millions and millions and millions of subscribers. But there's very few in the last 10 years who actually did that, you know, organically. You know, most of your large YouTube channels have a massive backing. And that goes for like, and I don't know why you guys watch this guy, but Rick Beato, you know, he's not, you know, his channel is not huge because of who he is, because he's so great. His channel's huge because he has massive amounts of backing. Okay? Same thing with, you know, anybody really that has a massive amount of your bands, right? That's why people used to want to cut a deal with the record company. They wanted to get signed, right? Because you can't make it in a band without backing. You know, here's a perfect example. One of my favorite people of all time, you know, Randy Rhoads, when he accepted the Best New Talent of the Year Guitar Player Magazine Award. And he was, you know, 1980, he was probably the best new talent, but don't think that came unsolicited, okay? You know, I'm sure the record company, you know, contacted Guitar World Magazine and said, hey, we have this guy, we're willing to give you, you know, X amount of dollars, and we want you to promote him. And Guitar Player Magazine took a look at it and said, oh, cool, yeah, we'll definitely promote that, and we'll take your money. I mean, what'd you think? Magazines made money from you buying them? That's a bonus, right? That covers the shipping to ship the damn things out to the places where you buy them from. That's about all that covers. And all your biggest bands of all time. There's very, very, very few bands that were big, massive hits that came without a massive amount of backing. Okay. I have to go in and get my tobacco, so I will be right back with you guys. Larry Lawton, right? You guys know who Larry Lawton is? The guy that tells prison stories. massive YouTube channel. And I assume he's still doing it. I mean, I don't know how many of those stories you can tell, but I know a guy who has way better prison stories than Larry Lawton. And you know, I was like, man, I go, you know who Larry Lawton is? I was like, man, your channel could be as big as him, forgetting that, you know. And he's like, yeah, well, he's like, you know, his book, the publisher of his book is like tied to CNN too, so he's got some serious media backing. And I'm like, oh, right, okay, got it. So, you know, that goes to show, like I said, my guy, he definitely has way better prison stories than Larry Lawton has. And yet, you know, he's just, in fact, I think he moved on to Rumble. I think either moved on to Rumble or something else. I don't remember. But he did move. I can't think of his name right now for the life of me. But anyway, yeah, everything is not as it appears. So when you have people who, you know, they could get promoted, okay, except that, you know, okay, I could go to Google today and say, hey Google, I want to promote my YouTube channel. I got $1 million budget. What can I expect as far as subscriber base, count, views in the next year for that $1 million? Well, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to take a look at me and they're going to say, yeah, we decided a long time ago we don't like you, so we don't want your money. But if they did like me, they would say, for $1 million, you can expect this within a year's time. You can expect this many subscribers, you can expect this many views, and the return on your investment will be this, which is not going to come close to what I put into it. But over time, and as you build, that's the hope, you know, and return on investment. And if I've got that kind of money, I have the time to wait on my ROI, right? So that's how it works. If you want to have a big YouTube channel, you know, and lots of views and lots of subscribers, my suggestion to you is to do it the way everybody else does it. You know, approach Google with your budget, your promotional budget. You know, I mean, it's not like it's not out there. I mean, you guys see it, you know, on Facebook. Okay, there's something. Maybe I know Marketplace has it where they'll like boost your advertising, and I think they have it for like Facebook pages too, where you can boost your Facebook views or whatever. And they're like, here, you know, whatever your budget is, you know, and you know, the problem is that, I mean, they're really scratching the bottom of the barrel. They're just taking your money just for the sense of taking your money, because, you know, you got a $5 a day budget, you know, to boost your YouTube channel or Facebook channel. It's not worth their time and effort, you know. They're like, okay, here, give them some clicks, you know. They have a set thing for that too, but I mean, they're really scratching the bottom of the barrel at that point. But yeah, what you would do is approach Google, or, you know, likely have an agent approach Google, somebody that's already familiar with who to approach and how to approach them and all that good stuff, and somebody that's interested in promoting you to begin with, and, you know, go to them with your marketing budget and say, here's what I want to do. And if they, you know, they can always turn you down, and they will. I mean, you're probably going to have to go pretty close to communist in order to be a part of it, for them not to say no. And there will be strings attached. I guarantee you there will be strings attached. In your contract, it's going to say, you know, we don't want you touching on X, Y, and Z subjects, or we do want you touching on X, Y, and Z subjects. There's going to be strings attached. You're not just going to be able to say, hey, whatever you want to say. you're going to have to work within the confines of your contract with Google, YouTube, whatever you want to call it. It's the same thing, right? So that's how it works, and that's how it works with everything. Opening a business, you can organically grow for a time. For a time, you can, especially if you have a business that there's a void and it's in demand. And look at this asshole. Really, dude? Unfucking-believable. These fucking people out here are absolute nutty. Going the wrong way on the road in order to get in a left turn lane. Okay. So, where was I at? A business, right? If you've got a business idea or whatever, and you open a business where there's a clear void, you will grow very quickly organically for a time. But you're going to have to expand that business at some point in order to meet customer demand. Or perhaps you can't, you don't have enough customers and you need more customers. And that's the kind of the fine line you want to be in, right? Where, you want to operate within your customer demands and not overdo it with your promotion and whatnot, because the more promoting you do, the more customers you will get. However, if you cannot supply those customers with your product, then there's no point in doing that anyway. So now let's say on the other end of things, let's say you've got too many employees, right? Because you over promoted yourself and the market just isn't what you thought it was, or it dropped off, or all the millions of different things that can happen in a business. It can go the other way, and then that's how you end up having to lay off employees and whatnot. So, you got to walk a fine line with it, and that goes for everything, every business, whatever you're doing, your YouTube, you're a social media influencer, whatever. Alright, now I gotta turn you guys off one more time, because I gotta go in and grab some cash real quick for today. That's this other thing, man. This whole cashless society we're coming into is not the greatest thing to be a part of. Hold on. Don King kept a lot of his money in cash because, he didn't like banks, didn't trust banks and all that kind of stuff, which, back then especially was more of a worry about it. But it's always a worry because, you don't have shit. Unless it's in your pocket, you don't have anything, Don't ever count on it unless it's actually in your pocket. It's all pretend until then. And even then, you'll see how that ends up. But anyway, yeah, so getting back to that, things are not what they appear to be. They never have been, and that goes for all of these things. People that wanted to become big social media influencers, YouTube personalities, most of them most of them in the last 10 years did not come unsolicited. I would say 98, 99% of them. There's very few people who break through, and when they do break through, it's a mistake, and the reason it's a mistake is because they're the only ones making the money off of it, right? That is a huge mistake, You look at the guy that wrote that song, Rich Men North of Richmond. He is apparently an organic phenomenon, and man, they are all over him, man. From the day one, everybody was trying to attach themselves to him, trying to give him buckets full of money and everything else, because they know how much money they'd be missing out on if they didn't. And he is still true to himself, apparently. This is what he says. You know, that he's, you know, he has his own label and he's doing his own thing. Which, if he is, man, that is really awesome. But he could be lying to you. You know, I mean, like I said, I made a video not long ago talking about, you know, what guitar players used, you know, what guitars, what gear they used, and what they told you they used versus what they actually used, and how you don't know what they used because, and you never will, because they can't tell you. To be honest, now maybe they did. They may have used all Gibson guitars and Marshall amplifiers just like they said they did. They may very well have, but it's pretty unlikely, especially in a recording situation. It's just very unlikely, and especially these days, it's almost, there's no way. I mean, they don't do that anymore. You know, the recording process, most of the recording process, I'm not going to say all, because obviously there's some people who record like the old days, you know, where, you know, you went in and you were capturing the best live performance. That was the goal, to capture the best live performance. Bands like Rage Against the Machine did it way into the way longer than when other people went to you know, just doing it on a laptop. They were still capturing the best live performance. You know, those bands, the last bands that you've heard of, you know, Nirvana and Pearl Jam, the guys that started the whole grunge era, if you will, you know, they were still doing it that way, capturing the best live performance. Nowadays, it just doesn't work that way. It's, you know, it's a convenience thing. It's just the way things are done now, and they're just not done that way anymore. You can, you know, get pretty close to, you know, you can perfect it. You can make it sound as if you did try to capture the best live performance. You can make it sound any way you want with the technology we have now. And with the stupid AI stuff now is just ridiculous. Frank Zappa talked about this stuff long ago, back in the 60s and 70s. He talked about when the day comes where robots are basically making music, and that time has come to pass. We're seeing it now with AI. You know, did we know it was going to be called AI at the time? No, everybody called it robots, right? Same thing. But yeah, it's just not what it appears to be. You know, everything you see driving down the road, just not what it appears to be. Why is there this tiny little veterinary office here, and the one across the street is gigantic and has the latest of greatest everything? Because they have backing. And this little guy over here, he's just an organic veterinarian. Maybe that's all he wants to be. You know, it is what it is. You look at this car wash right here, and I know you guys can't see it, and I can't show it to you because it's illegal for me to do so. But there's this car wash, and that thing probably cost fucking $25 million to build that stupid car wash. And, you know, do you think that was just some dude? You know, no. There's investors involved in it. They are promoting it. They're trying to recoup their investment now, right? Now, you don't go into these things blindly. I mean, you can, no matter what business you're in or what business you're going in, you can get a pretty good idea of the kind of return on investment you're going to get and how long it's going to take. You know, so it's not like you're flying blind in any of this stuff either. It's not like you're flying blind in any of this YouTube stuff either. You know that, you know, look, I don't have any backing. I don't have anybody that's going to back me. And even if I did, Google's not going to agree to it. So, you know, my channel will remain what it is. You know, now, if I had some type of backing, and Google were to agree to it, you would literally see overnight my channel just grow like crazy. All of a sudden, boom, you know, I'm the most popular dude on YouTube. Literally overnight. That's how easy it is to do that now. It doesn't take time. You know, it used to take time. You know, you might, that's part of the reason the band was out doing live performances. They were promoting their album, you know. They were promoting, that was part of their agreement. Their job was they're going to go promote, you know, themselves while the record company is also promoting them. Otherwise, you know, how are you going to fill a 20,000 seat, you know, arena, you know? And believe me, the record company was not going to not have the band sell out. Those arenas that they set up for the next year and a half, that stuff is all planned way ahead of time. All planned out, all calculated out, all down to the last penny. All of it. You know, why do you think you don't see very many independent gas stations? You see Shell and BP and Mobil and Speedway and, you know, whatever is the big gas station in your area of the country. But you don't see too many people with a independent gas station where they actually sell the gas cheaper, because there is an, you know, and if you do, a lot of times they don't last very long, and that is because there is an effort out against them, you know, because if they're selling gas cheaper than the Shell station across the street from them, like by a lot, well then, you know, you don't think Shell Corporation gets involved and figures out how to hammer that person down? You don't think Big Oil could get involved at the flip of a switch and hammer that person down? Don't think for a second they can. And don't think for a second that they won't. It's in their best interest to do so. So that is your thought for the day, is that things are not what they appear to be. Everywhere you go, things are not what they appear to be. It's all paid for down to the penny. It's all promoted down to the penny to get you to buy it. How come there hasn't been a new like a new McDonald's ever since McDonald's, right? Try starting up a fast food joint on your own without backing. See where that gets you. Come on, man. All right, y'all. Till next time. Peace out.